Good morning, Madaz Money. This is Mikey O, and it's time for today's lunchtime recap. Today is August 27th, 2019. It is 2:53 p.m. market time. And I want to talk about the main play of the day for small caps, which in my opinion was OSN. Now, I gave my game plan for OSN in pre-market in chat, so if you missed it, go and scroll back. It's all there. But basically, short and sweet, I didn't think that this was uh, an optimal short at any point pre-market, and that's because it shares a lot of similarities between the recent runners that I have strict rules for the short squeeze pattern, and this checked a lot of those boxes. It's day one, catalyst, low float. I definitely am not thinking short in pre-market. I'm thinking trap. Okay, it's probably going to trap a ton of people. So, what am I looking for when I'm looking for traps? Well, I'm trying to think like the herd. Okay, so when I see this VWAP reject twice, I was very pleased with that because I thought that this would be perceived as huge weakness. Okay, it failed to break the VWAP twice, and I knew that that was great belief building for shorts, and they are probably um, short, especially on that 550 break, which was, close enough to the previous low of day. So it had a low of day after the VWAP failure, and then it tried to break, failed again, and when it broke that low, I knew that that was basically the huge belief building for the short side. Now that's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, so I was already long, basically at the open, and I added. Now my risk on this trade was $5 area because I always have a line in the sand for my trades. I know a general area where if this breaches that area, my bias for, in this case, the long side is nullified. Okay, so I really have to stay objective and I have to say, hey, if this breaches five, this is no longer a valid long. Okay, they're just dumping. And we always have to be aware of those areas. So the first thing that I wanted to see was the trap. Okay, so day one low floats, I'm definitely not looking to short. I have a long bias on these, okay? And I don't know if they will run, but I know that they have a very high affinity of running. And that's something that I always want to identify in pre-market. Okay, so I go through a checklist. I have a short squeeze checklist, and that's how I create my biases in pre-market. So I go through down my list and basically just make a mental checklist of, is this more likely to squeeze or is this more likely to fade? And I'm not going to say that shorting day one low floats doesn't work, right? Because I can't objectively say that. I can't confirm that. But what I will say is that shorting day one low floats is a hell of a lot harder than waiting for the trap and waiting for the confirmed breakdown. So I never want to say to anyone, you should never short day one low floats. All I can do is just share my opinion and my experience. And this is a pattern that I've had a lot of issues with on the short side in previous years. And it's something that I had to correct. And now I actually look to go long on these. So hey, if it works for you, it works for you, but I'm not interested in shorting these. So I was looking at 650 area. You can see that price rejected this three times pre-market, and I thought that that was definitely a psychological level. Then also the VWAP break, like I said, these two failed tests here were and break of the swing low was a lot of belief building for shorts. So my assumption was that the shorts were all in at this point, okay? And when price went sideways, started curling up here and then broke the VWAP, I was pretty confident that it was going to squeeze, and I sold into that. Now, I guess I could have held. Price did hit seven, but um, you know, holding these trades is not my strong suit. There have been many examples where um, the stocks went much further than the VWAP trap, but always looking to improve. So everything. And a couple years ago, I actually would have been shorting this. So I think that this is a huge improvement from my own approach a couple years ago. So I no longer short these until post trap and post breakdown. But I hope this has been helpful to you guys. I hope that you guys have stayed safe on this. It was not an easy one for the long side. I was long it open and I added, and this almost got to my $5 risk area, which I identified as this is no longer a valid long. So just have to cut it. But it did recover, and I like to see this move towards the open of the day when volume's the highest. And if I don't see it, I know that it's got a small chance of actually doing it midday, and it's got a higher chance of doing it at the end of the day. So that's what I'm looking for, guys. I hope this has helped you, and I'll see you in the room. Cheers.